Two people are looking for a miracle. One person, the first, is a religious leader. He's the head of a synagogue. He is upright. He does things the right way, at least as best as he can. And he goes and he falls down in front of Jesus and begs him, "Come and heal my daughter, for she's dying." And Jesus says, "Okay, I'll come." And on the way there, he's pressed by these crowds. And I don't know if any of you been to a really, really big sporting event or a really, really big event where there's a crowd and really pressed in, or have been to Jerusalem on Holy Friday, right? Where, like, this has never happened to me. I've been in crowds, but not where it's been so tight where you could pick up your feet and just the press of everyone around you kept you up, right? Big crowd. So Jesus is going through this crowd and everyone is pressing on him, right? And suddenly he says, "Who touched me?" And his disciples are going, "Hello, Jesus." There is this crowd of people pressing on you. "What do you mean, who touched me?" And he says something interesting. He says, and in the Greek, it's even more profound than the English translation. The English translation is, "I perceive that power has gone out from me." But in Greek, it's actually, "I perceive that virtue has gone out from me." Right? And so all these people have been making physical contact with him, but only one person actually touched him. You can go to church your whole life and never touch Jesus. Well, wait a minute, I received communion, I did this, I did that. I physically contacted. I listened to words. I saw things. You can even see miracles, right? I heard of people who see miracles. We just celebrated St. Demetrius, right? And the emperor sees this miracle where his champion is defeated in front of him. And what does he do? Does he believe? The whole crowd say, "Great is the God of Demetrius." And the emperor says, "Kill him. Kill him." Right? You can see but not see. You can touch but not touch. But this one woman, she was kind of an outcast. She couldn't go up in front of Jesus and fall down in front of him. No one would make any room for her. She was a kind of outcast. She was unclean, right? Unclean. For 12 years, constantly unclean. And nothing she did. No, it says all her money, she spent all of her resources on physicians and didn't get better. And somehow, even though everyone else was making contact with Jesus, she was able to touch Jesus. And virtue went out from him. And who did this? And I don't know, whatever. Finally, I always picture this where he's like looking right at her and said, "Who did this?" Right? Because there's this whole crowd, right? And she could have easily slipped away, but he knew. But he wanted her to say something, right? And so she says, it was me, and imagine, in front of this crowd, probably almost all men, explaining, well, you see, I had this problem, and I touched you, and I was healed, right? Embarrassing. And Jesus responds to her in compassion, right? As he always does, right? My daughter, your faith. And the Greek word is has saved you. We translate it in English, made you well. But it's the Greek word, your faith has saved you. Now, all this time, the religious fellow, that he kind of represents us, right? The guy who goes to church, the guy who, he does the right thing. He goes to Jesus, falls down in front of him. Jesus promises to come, but he's taken his time. How many times has it happened to you, and maybe it has never happened to you, but it has happened to me, where you have been praying and asking God for something pretty serious, something pretty important, not even for yourself, right? For your kid, for somebody you care about, somebody's in trouble, you're praying, and then somebody who's never been to church before shows up, has a miracle, and it's just like, wait a minute, right? This person walks in the door off the street, never been to church before, does a Matanya in front of the icon, and receives a miracle. And I've been falling down in front of Jesus, begging him. And all I get is, okay, I'm coming. I'm coming. Right? And then the bad news comes. Your daughter's dead. She died. Don't bother the master anymore. How many of us have heard that word? Right? It's too late. They've made their choice. Maybe they've even died. Right? Oh, too late. Die is cast. What they are is what they are. Might as well not bother Jesus about them anymore. Right? And Jesus said, no. Just believe. Just believe. And again, what does he say to him? And your daughter will be saved. We translate it into English as your daughter will be made well. But again, it's the same verb, be saved. But she's dead already. How can that happen? Well, we serve a master who is Lord of both the living and the dead. And so he comes to the house, and there's this mourning going on, because everybody sees is it's over. Let's just mourn their loss, right? Let's just mourn the loss. It's over. And Jesus puts them all out saying, she's not dead, she's sleeping. And they laugh at him. Right? Boy, that's one of the harshest verses in the scripture. The old King James puts it, they laughed him to scorn. Right? Or just the modern translations, they laughed at him. How many of us have been laughed at because we still hoped in God? The circumstances looked impossible. Maybe the person had already died. Maybe the person had already made a choice that was unreversible. But we still trusted in God. And everybody thought we were stupid. And Jesus goes in with the mother and father and Peter, James, and John and says, little girl, I say to you, arise. And the text says, and her spirit re-entered. She was really dead, by the way. So when he said she's not dead but sleeping, he was referring to death as sleep. And this is the hope of every single Christian. You see, they don't die. They just sleep. Right? They don't die. We don't die. We just sleep. And so there is still hope, right? Even though God didn't answer our prayer when we wanted him to. Even though God didn't come through when we hoped he would. It's never too late for Jesus. It's never too late for God. What we have to do is hang in there. Hang in there, trust in God, and he'll even raise the dead. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.